When a recession begins, an official announcement eventually confirms it. But that confirmation usually arrives months after the economy actually started shrinking. The last major crash was declared almost exactly a year after it had begun. Here is what fills that year. The economy is already contracting, but the dashboards, built from smoothed, backward-looking numbers, still look healthy. News anchors and pundits look at those same numbers and reassure the public that this is a temporary slowdown. Most people believe it because the data on the screen seems to agree. They hold their positions. They buy the dip, following the strategy that worked in the past. But the dip keeps stepping. They buy again. Eventually, the losses grow larger than they can tolerate, and they finally sell everything at the absolute bottom. This surrender happens at the exact moment the market begins to turn around without them. This wasn't a failure of logic. The lag in the data dictated the decision-making process. The delay in information acts as a psychological trap. It hides the danger on the way down and creates the pressure to quit at the worst possible moment. The problem is a matter of mechanics. The numbers we use to track inflation, growth, and stock trends are trailing averages. The calculation box is constantly dragging behind the leading edge of the data, meaning the output is built entirely out of events that have already happened. This is why the experts are often sincerely wrong. The analysts and officials aren't intentionally misleading anyone. They are looking at the same lagging dashboards as everyone else. It's a car full of people looking in the rearview mirror and agreeing on what the road ahead looks like. The data is honest, but it is so late that the harm is often done before the cause is even identified. Financial television often claims that when a price drifts far from its long-term average, the price is inevitably pulled back to that line like a magnet. Look at what happens when a price drops sharply while the smoothed average stays high. When they finally reconnect, which one moved? In 3 out of 4 cases, the average line slowly crawled down to where the price had already crashed. It shows up in corporate dashboards, in the daily news headlines, and in performance metrics. The measurement was never actually predicting a recovery. It was simply catching up to a reality that had already arrived. We can use the math of this lag to do something more useful. By understanding the delay, we can make specific, dated predictions that are scored in public. First, we apply it to the economy. We've built a detection system using real-time signals to identify recessions roughly 100 days earlier than the models used by most economists. Next, we point the same math at disease surveillance. We can forecast the arrival and the dominant strain of the flu season before it actually begins. We can also identify which specific sectors of the supply chain will show the first signs of cracking during the next economic downturn. Unlike the daily predictions from pundits, these are registered in advance. There are no takebacks. The scoreboard is open for anyone to grade. Markets, disease, and freight are unrelated fields. The fact that the same arithmetic makes testable calls in all of them suggests that lag is a consistent mechanic of how we measure any complex system. To make this transparent, the raw arithmetic is published in plain English, so the logic can be checked and verified. This provides a framework for looking at a chart or a headline and distinguishing between actionable information and a rearview mirror. We are also developing a diagnostic tool. You can plug in your own historical numbers to see exactly where lag was influencing your past decisions. Somewhere in your life right now, a gap is open. You are likely making decisions based on a number you trust, one that describes a world that has already changed. The only question is which number it is and how big that gap has become. Find the gap before it finds you.